Pauly Likens Jr., 14 years old, of Sharon, had went missing. Some articles say June 22nd, some say June 25th. And on June 25th, there were some unknown remains that were found around a reservoir. The remains that were found were dismembered and scattered in a nearby lake, and based on forensic and autopsy, Mercer County coroner determined that Pauly Likens Jr. was the victim. Pauly probably, more than likely, died from force trauma to the head. The case was ruled a homicide. Now, children lie, and they lie to their parents. If you have a young teenager, you've been lied to. And if you were a young teenager, of course you were, you more than likely lied. Pauly lied. Pauly told his dad that he was going to stay at a female friend's house. And Pauly was doing that. Pauly was staying at a female friend's house. I remember I used to lie and say I was going to be with one of my homegirls, and I really was, but I would sneak out of her house and go and, be with a guy. Yeah, I sure did. And that's what Pauly was doing. Pauly was on Grindr. Now, I've never been on Grindr, but I don't even like the name of it. But Pauly was on Grindr, and apparently there is a section on Grindr for the LGBTQ community. That's what I've heard. It's only what I've read. I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you've been on Grindr, I haven't. But Pauly was on it, and Pauly met a man. And apparently, they were just going for a late night walk, is what Pauly's friend thought. Pauly's friend actually texted and asked Pauly, what was going on? Is everything okay? And got a response back from somebody that everything was fine. The phone was cut off shortly after, and no one knew where Pauly was. Now, thank goodness, through, pings of the phone and surveillance, because the murderer, the one that Pauly was having this late night walk with, he didn't live far from the area that Pauly went to meet up with this man at. And his name was Deshaun Watkins, 29 years old. He was arrested for first-degree murder, aggravated assault, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. And he's currently being held in Mercer County Jail without a bond. Now, the LGBTQ community, along with activists, are saying that he should also be charged with a hate crime. But Deshaun Watkins was not down low. They're saying that he was openly gay. So it was a gay man that was seeking a transgendered person. I don't, this is where I get lost. I think, if anything, that Deshaun Watkins should get charged with, besides the murder, was the fact that this was a juvenile. This was a child. This was a child that may have not been able to even make up their decision, because I have watched a lot of cases where these young people will start off 10 and 11 and they say they're transgendered. They're a little boy and they want to be a little girl all of a sudden, and they start going through the things, and then 3, 4, 5 years into it, when they're like 15, 16, they're like, no, I don't want to be no girl. And they have to stop and transition back. That's happening a lot. And that's a whole other story that I'm not even prepared to discuss right now. But that's happening a lot. But Pauly didn't even get a chance, Who knows what Pauly was going to want to do when Pauly was 16 or 17. Pauly was just 14. And unfortunately, Deshaun Watkins, who was 29 years old, he stopped it. he stopped any choices that Pauly would have made in the future. So yes, definitely he should go down for murder. Definitely. And being a pedophile, definitely. And they should definitely look more into Deshaun Watkins' life. Now, the surveillance showed him going in and out of his apartment. Like I said, it wasn't too far from that reservoir. And he had a duffel bag, a bloody duffel bag, trash bags. And when the police did get a chance to go inside the house, there was blood everywhere. This is where he dismembered this child at and spread his body all over the lake. Horrible. Horrible. It's so much things right now that are being said about this child and this child's family that I think is very unfair. So I just decided to focus on Pauly Likens Jr. Justice for Pauly.
I said, I love you, and I'll give you a call when I get home Monday after work.
That was the last thing Paul Likens Sr. said to his 14-year-old child, Pauly Likens.
It went straight to voicemail, and something told me that was wrong. Something was going on.
From the place where Pauly was last seen, Pauly's father talked to us about what he's been going through since that terrible day.
This was the first place I came and walked around looking. I knew, but I still had that hope. Right
now, Paul is coping with feelings of anger, rage, sadness, and sorrow.
But if I release that out into the world, it's not going to do nobody no good.
Despite all the darkness and pain in the past 2 weeks, the light of Pauly's pure and beautiful soul will be remembered for all the love and generosity that was poured out.
I sit with God, so God got my back, and he's been holding me up, making sure I don't fall. I'm going to make it.